that very few amongst us can do. If you can do any of the following, kudos, you're a rare kind. Number 10. Tickle yourself. Pretty sure you've tried this at some point, but you didn't get the same results as when someone else does it. And it doesn't matter that you're tickling the same spots as the other person. It simply won't get you wriggling involuntarily or laughing your head off. There is a reason for this, and the brain plays a major role. Part of the brain called the cerebellum is responsible for monitoring movements and the accompanying sensations. If the movements are on your part, the cerebellum can actually tell the resultant sensations and will, therefore, cancel them on the remaining parts of the brain. So in theory, you might be tickling yourself, but in reality, that tickle is discarded by the brain so you don't feel any different. Since the same cerebellum cannot predict the sensations caused by another person, you get tickled. But the ability to tickle oneself is not a complete impossibility. A few people can do it successfully, only that it's impairment. Those with schizophrenia have a hard time distinguishing between self-initiated and external movements. This means their brains interpret self-tickling and tickling by someone else with your eyes open. Sneezing is among the many reflexes we have as humans. Once the process kicks off, there's nothing you can do to stop it. All you can do is try and muffle the accompanying sound, which is guaranteed to draw a lot of glances if you're in a very quiet place, like a library for instance. The whole process usually serves to rid the air pathway of any solid particles. And just like pretty much of our body processes, sneezing is also a brain-controlled activity initiated in a special region called the sneeze center. This sneeze center sends coordinated motor impulses to every part that is involved in the process, like the neck, abdomen, diaphragm, chest, and the face. For the face, two important parts are involved, that is the eyes and nose. These parts are connected by cranial nerves, and when the impulse to sneeze is set off, the eyes shut automatically, at least for most people. But it's not entirely impossible to keep your eyes open during the entire process, as it is usually alleged. There's been a long-standing myth that opening your eyes when you sneeze will pop out your eyeballs, but as Adam Savage of the Mythbuster demonstrated in 2007, this is pure hook'em. Number 8. Put your fist in your mouth. God knows why someone would want to do this, but hey, to each their own. But there are a few people with the ability to fit their fists in their mouth. In all of these cases, at least these two conditions have to be met. First, the fist must be incredibly small, and secondly, the mouth must be larger than average. You'll certainly find more babies than adults trying this trick. Rightly so, during teething. It's only natural for toddlers to try to eat everything, including themselves. But it's a fairly risky thing to do. Assuming you do successfully insert your fist in your mouth, there's a high probability of it being stuck there. That's pretty embarrassing in every way you look at it. Like, how would you explain it to the guys in the ER or anyone else? That said, it is possible for most people to at least fit a portion of their fist, up to a half, into their mouth. Number 7. Bend your thumb backwards. Well, thumbs can bend, which is only natural considering that they have joints. But we all know a thumb operates within a specific locus, and the back of the hand isn't part of it. Simply put, bending your thumb backward is not possible for most people under normal circumstances. But for those with a rare condition called the hitchhiker's thumb, they can bend their thumb to the opposite side of their palms with unmatched ease. Formerly known as distal hyperextensibility, hitchhiker's thumb occurs in about 32% of the population, according to a 2012 study. And no, it doesn't affect the thumb's functionality, nor does it cause any pain. It's also possible for the condition to occur in both thumbs. Scientists hypothesize that hitchhiker's thumb might have a genetic link. The person with the condition might inherit it from the parents if he or she acquires the recessive genes from them. So parents with normal thumbs can give birth to kids with the condition as long as both of them are carriers of the recessive hitchhiker's thumb genes. On the other hand, a different theory suggests that thumb bendability is a range running from no bendability to extreme bendability. Number 6. Wiggle your ears. There are a whole lot of mammals out there that can wiggle their ears. Our immediate friends, cats and dogs, are prime examples. But for humans, those who can do so are the minority, and scientists know why. A 2006 ear-wiggling study published by the Clinical Neurophysiology Journal found out that ears have their own accessory nucleus in the brain cell. The accessory nucleus acts as a control area for muscle function. This is the case with all animals, especially cats and bats. The only significance between the two and us is that our accessory nucleus is too small to have any significant impact on the movement of ears. This is probably due to our changing environment that eliminated the need to have wiggly ears. As usual, evolution took over to stump out the useless ability. But there is always an exception to the rule. There are a few among us who can wiggle their ears voluntarily or otherwise. There are suggestions that this trick can be learned by figuring out how to isolate the muscles that control the ears. Involuntary ear movement, on the other hand, is caused by moving ear syndrome that causes tics or spasms in the muscles attached to the ears. Number 5. Putting your legs around your neck. Well, this isn't common, but it's not impossible like the bulk of activities in this video. Obviously, it requires a great deal of flexibility that can be learned with patience and great precaution. Without these, you could possibly end up with a broken back. But a quick search on the interweb shows a considerable interest in learning this trick, and it even has a special name, Ecopayz USD. This isn't new to you if you're a yoga enthusiast. And achieving it, as already mentioned, means cultivating flexibility and strength. This can take a few days, weeks, or several months, depending on how easily your body responds to the training. Aside from it being a nice trick, getting your legs behind your neck is said to have a range of benefits, including reduced stress levels, an improvement in blood circulation, and elimination of toxins. Also, the dedication required in achieving the pose can very much easily extend to other aspects of your life. If these benefits are anything to go by, this is probably the one trick in this video you should consider trying. Number 4. Do more than 2 things at a go. There's so much talk about multitasking, but what most people don't know is that it involves not more than 2 tasks. That's the most the brain can handle as per its anatomy. In any human brain, there's a part called the prefrontal cortex that is responsible for managing tasks at any one time. This part is divided into an anterior and posterior sections. The two work in tandem to establish a chain of command when you're handling a single activity. But when a second task is introduced to the mix, the parts work independently of each other. So basically, the 2 tasks divide the brain into 2 distinct parts. And that's the most the brain can go as far as partitioning itself is concerned. A third task would be impossible to work on, since the whole prefrontal cortex would have been swamped up. Number 3. Touch your nose or chin with your tongue. This is probably one of those things at least everyone has tried, but came a bit disappointed. For some, most of our tongues are not sufficiently long enough to touch either our chins or noses. And if you can do this, congrats! You're among the fairly rare 10% of the planet's population. In the medical world, this ability is known as the Gorlin sign, named after Robert J. Gorlin, who was an oral pathologist at the University of Minnesota School of Dentistry. For people with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, an inherited connective tissue disorder, Gorlin's sign is more common, with the prevalence being as high as 50%. The most known person with Gorlin's sign is Gene Simmons, of the Kiss rock band fame. His tongue was incredibly longer than that of the general populace that rumors were rife that he had a cow's tongue grafted onto his. But of course, this was all speculation. He was just among the few people with elongated tongues. The only difference is that he was famous and is rather unusually long. Toss a photo online and want to know more details about it? Just send it over to us. We might even feature it in a future video. Number 2. Tongue tricks. Still on the tongue, touching your chin or nose with it isn't the only impossibility. You're also limited as far as folding it is concerned. Of course, at least everyone can roll their tongue with relative ease, with estimates showing that 75% have this ability. But that's about it. As it turns out, there's more that you can do with your tasting organ that doesn't involve food. Some people can fold their tongue in all sorts of shapes with remarkable ability. Talk about performing a reverse T, making a clover leaf in spaceship shapes, or flipping your tongue 180 degrees. They can pull them off. And what's even more baffling is that there seems to be no conclusive explanation to this extraordinary ability. Some have attributed it to genetics, but there isn't any hard data to back up this claim. Besides, there are cases of parents without this ability having kids who can twist their tongues in all sorts of shapes. Just remember to take care when attempting these complex tongue rolls. The tongue is a muscle and hence can easily cramp if taken to the extremes. Number 1. Lick your elbow. Here we go again with the tongue, but this time with an added twist, that is the elbow. It sounds pretty simple when you think about it, but you quickly realize how much of a task it is to lick your elbow. Unless you have incredibly short arms, a super flexible shoulder joint, or a tongue with phenomenal length. Licking your elbow is one of those things most people can't do. Unofficial estimates place the prevalence of elbow licking capabilities at about 1 for every 100 people. And if you're interested in having a go at joining the few, there's a page on wikihow.com outlining the various tricks you can use to achieve the feat. The fact that there is a whole page on the internet outlining how to do such a thing is quite interesting. It seems like there is a considerable number of people interested in knowing how their elbow tastes. But seeing as some serious bending is involved, you must take care lest you end up with a sprained arm, which is not fun. Imagine telling someone you got that injury trying to lick your elbow.